produce Halloween, The Fog, Halloween 2, even that's not a Carpenter film, one that he directed. Escape from New York, Escape from LA. She co-writes and produces all of those with Carpenter, and I think they even dated for a little while. So she's kind of that a big reason why Halloween gets made.
So you said Kim Richards was a little girl?
Kim Richards is the little girl, yes.
All right. Do you know about the story behind the MPAA regarding this scene?
I do know the story behind the MPAA. It's a fun story.
Did you want to go ahead and share it then?
You go ahead, dude. You brought it up. The MPAA sucks ass, though. Fuck the MPAA. They're such dicks.
All right, I'll try my best to get this right. But so, of course, because this was a very kind of visceral scene involving, a minor, the MPAA was threatening to give the film an X rating. So Carpenter agreed to cut it, but then because they were a lower budget film, once he, the distributors sent out the movie, they had secretly intercut this scene back into the movie without telling anyone, and therefore got an R rating anyway. So they basically just fucking lied and got away with it.
Hey, and it's better for it.
Yeah,
I know it's a brutal scene, and I know that even Carpenter says, in retrospect, I probably wouldn't do it that way now. But fuck the MPAA. That's what I say. They're fucking prudes.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rough, but I don't think it warrants an X rating. And I know things, of course, were different back then, and maybe but
but even by this point in time, the Sam Peckinpah movies like The Wild Bunch or Straw Dogs had been out. Death Wish is before this, which is pretty brutal. I don't know when Taxi Driver comes out in 1976. I don't know if that's before or after. But it's like all those movies were threatened with X ratings and got R's for far more graphic violence than the little girl getting shot. But maybe it's because it was a kid.
But also, it's everything spurs out of control because of that.
Yeah.
As well. So I feel like that's, to me, in my head, that's what justified it being.
Yeah, it's warranted.
Being there. It's not just for no reason. It's not just for, purely for shock value or anything. It actually is a part of the bigger story.
Yeah. And we should say that the little girl gets killed. Her father, sees that, is devastated, and then the ice cream man's dying words to him is that there's a gun underneath the dash. So the father grabs the gun and then chases these guys down, manages to catch up with them, kills the guy responsible, and then they chase him, and he ends up running into the precinct, and then that's where the assault kicks off.
And then that dude doesn't say a fucking word the entire movie.
He's super traumatized, man. He got his pound of flesh, and now his brain is completely broke.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't tell them, doesn't explain to them.
He goes into this almost like catatonic shock or something.
Yeah.
Where he's just non-responsive, literally gunfire hailing fucking war zone, and he's just with his blanket curled up the entire time.
Yeah, and all that gunfire stuff going off all around him, and he doesn't hit the floor or anything. He's just sitting in that same spot, and it kills Julie, who's pretty much right next to him. She gets killed, and she's right next to him in the station.
Julie's the one who kind of brings up hey, because because the dad doesn't talk, none of the people in the police station know why he's even there or what he did.
Yeah.
So she's like, yo, they just want him. Let's fucking give him up. Like, we don't know him. We have no idea what he did to cause all of this. So what is, what's the problem?
Yeah. But, it's Bishop, man. He says, hey, this guy came in here, like, we're responsible for him. We're going to protect him. We're not just going to turn him over. And it's the same attitude that he has towards the convicts as well.
Yeah.
They don't deserve to die down there, like in a cell. He's like, we need everyone that we can get, so we bring them out. And when Wilson asks him, hey, you saved my life twice. Why did you do that? He says, hey, I'm responsible. I want us all to walk out of here alive, no matter who we are.
I remember Napoleon is like, the first time happened and I let it go. But then you did it but then you did it again.
Oh man, Wilson's got so many good lines in the movie. He's got one of my favorites early on when they're on the bus and Starker sits down next to him. Because Wilson is a death row convict. They're being transferred to San Quentin.
Yes.
And Wilson's death row. And, Starker's trying to talk to him and find out all kinds of stuff. And, wants to know, like, why he got his name. And he replies with a line that's a callback to Once Upon a Time in the West. To, Charles Bronson's Harmonica. That's the name of the character in the movie, Harmonica. He, when they want to know who he is, he says, only at the moment of dying, I'll tell you. And that's the line that Wilson gives Starker on the bus. I'll only tell you at the moment of dying. And then Starker says, well, I'll try to be there when that time comes. But the line I'm referring to is he's looking out the window and it's, it's sunset. And he says when you're in my position, days are like women. Each one of them is so goddamn precious, yet they always end up leaving. Yeah, here's the actual quote. In my situation, days are like women. Each one's so damn precious, but they all end up leaving you. And that's one of my favorite lines in the film.
Damn.
But then just like everything else, just even at the end, when they're trying to, the cop comes in to try to take Wilson and Bishop pushes him off, doesn't want them to take him away.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily doesn't want them to take him away, but it's like, he deserves better than you guys coming in and arresting him. He wants to walk out with them because they fought side by side. And Bishop says, it'd be a privilege if you walk outside with me. And Wilson just looks at him and says, I know it would.
Now, my question for you with an extraordinary situation like this where he clearly protected innocence, could he be looking at some kind of a pardon?
I wouldn't say like a full pardon, but would probably get knocked off of death row, at least. I don't know exactly what he was in for. It sounded like he killed a bunch of people, but I don't know under what circumstances. But my guess is part of his sentence, or at least the death row sentence, would be commuted.
Okay.
That would be my guess. I don't know, let's call up a lawyer and find out for real how that would go down. But I'm willing to bet that he would no longer be on death row, at least. That they would take what he did in the police station into consideration.
Yeah, but I mean, because you got to think about it. At any point, he could have turned on them and killed them first, like the people inside with him.
Yeah.
He had the firepower to do it, at some point, but he didn't.
it's so funny because when they're under siege, that for real, that second time, you know, when Bishop tells Lee to go downstairs and let him out, and that's when Lee gets shot when the guy's coming down the corridor. But when he goes to assault her, you know, she ends up beating him up, getting the upper hand, and then she gets into Wilson's cell to let him out just as the second guy comes through, and then Wilson takes him on. He breaks his arm in like a pretty gnarly way.
Yeah, he like pushes it up into the bar and just fucking goes to town.
Yeah, and he like drops like his fist on the guy's arm, and it just snaps in half. But you know, they come up from the cells in the basement, and he's trying to hold the door, and Bishop's at the front door, and you know, Wilson's saying, "Hey, give me a gun," because he knows you need my help. Regardless, you need my help, and this is the only way we're gonna get out of this alive is if you trust me. And then Bishop throws him that shotgun. He goes to work, like, blasting those guys in the hall with the shotgun. And then the look on Bishop's face is great. He's just kind of, like, looking at him. Almost in this kind of unbelievable way. Like, you can't believe that just happened.
Yeah.
And, like, Wilson, the look on Wilson's face is great, too. Like, he's almost proud of himself that he was able to take those guys out, but you know, it pans back to Bishop. He's just got that look on his face, like, wow, I can't believe that shit just happened. And Bishop's got a bunch of great scenes too. The scene where Wells. Wells says, "Hey, I got a plan. Like, it's called Save Ass. I'm gonna slip out the back and I'm gonna run like a bastard, and you're gonna let me do it." He's got that scene where, you know, they say, "Hey, no, I can't let you do that," and he's like threatening him with the gun, and then Lee goes to talk to him and he points the gun at her, and she says, "Hey, you know, I've been shot once tonight. I don't want to be shot again." And she talks to him really cool, and she grabs the gun and kind of pushes it away and gives him this speech about how if you're going to run, when you die, I'll say, you know, I'll go out there and ask him to say a prayer for you. And then she looks down at the gun and she's like, "Oh, I wasted all that, and his gun is empty anyways."
And then he gets all super pissed and he's like, "Man, this whole time I've had no bullets and I didn't even know."
Because his gun has a silencer on it, so he couldn't tell. And because it's a revolver, you know, it's not going to go, the slide isn't going to lock when it goes empty. But yeah, it's funny. And then they realize that, you know, there's a way to go out if you go through, like, underneath is it the sewer?
Yeah.
You know, you come out the manhole in the parking lot, the back parking lot. Or is that the front parking lot? I think it's the front parking lot, actually. Yeah. Because that's the guy, the dad's car that's still sitting out there. And they say, well, one of us has to go, and they try to figure out who it is. And Bishop's like, "Hey, I don't know how to hotwire a car." And they give him that look, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a cop. Like,
yeah.
What do you expect? It's not my job to know how to do that. That's your job." So then, you know, obviously it's going to come down to either Wells or Wilson. And Wells realizes that, and he goes, "Shit, shit, shit, shit." Just yells at a bunch. And then they say they're going to flip, and he doesn't want to do it, and they're going to lose. He's going to lose if they flip a coin, so then they do something called potatoes, which is almost like a kid's game, almost like a rock, paper, scissors type thing. And then Wells, of course, loses. And he's disappointed because he said he knew he was going to lose.
Doesn't he try to say, he was like, "No, let's go again"?
Yeah, he says, "Let's go again." And Bishop says, "Hey, there's no time. You know, there's no time. You got to go now." So he says he's going to go. And then as he leaves, he says, "Hey, does anyone want to wish me luck?" And then Lee and Bishop at the same time just say, "Good luck."